Hey yo, LAZ, Gen Pop Gang in the building. Shout out to the bro Gunny Walker. You heard, Marine, veteran. Shout out to all of the veterans out there. All of the soldiers out there. Those currently at war. Those who've seen war and combat. You know, these dudes got some stories. They got some deep and powerful stories. And we gotta start hearing some of them. You know, it's not just ex-convicts and street dudes that need that therapy and need to get things off their chest. There's a lot of people out there. You heard? But this story right here, this need to be a movie. And that's a fact. You heard, this need to be a whole movie. There's a lot of stories on this channel, man, that need to be a movie. Gen Pop, y'all gotta start spreading the word out there. You heard, when you hear a story on this channel that you know for a fact could be a major motion picture, tweet that, share that, send that to whoever you know.
We bag and grab, not even 3 minutes while we going, we gotta leave the orphanage and we driving by the Pakistani stadium. Bro, they lit our shit up. Disabled one of the vehicles, and we literally had a running gunfight, bro. It was like 4.5, 5 miles all the way back to the ship. Have you ever seen the movie Black Hawk Down?
Yeah, I saw it a long time ago.
Okay, so that happened in 1993, October 3rd, 1993. Well, I was in Somalia from August of 1993 until late November of 1993, and my unit, we were doing a convoy. What we were doing, we were ripping out another platoon, so we were replacing a unit that was already in country. So that process usually takes about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, depending on the time that you have. So October 1st and 2nd, we had been running major operations in and throughout Mogadishu. And October 2nd, the night before the Rangers did that raid, another Marine and myself, we were taking these VIPs around the city, and we ended up, one of our last stops was going to be at an orphanage. So we get to the orphanage, and like I said, it's 2 platoons now working together. So this guy from another platoon placed me and this other Marine in a spot to do overwatch while the VIPs were walking around the orphanage. Well, some shit had happened not too far from where we were, so it was like, you know, the SOP was, you know, get the VIP out of the area. But since our platoons were together, the guy and the comm and all that shit was fucked up. The dude had pulled everybody and left me and this other Marine out there exposed. Now they dipped, so we was in the cut for like a good 25-30 minutes, and we was like, yo, somebody should have checked in with us or something. And we hear this person coming down the hallway where we were, and it's this little beautiful sister, and she's like, are they gonna come back for you? And we like, what? And I'm looking at, there's a white dude I'm with. I'm looking at him, he's looking at me. He's like, we're like, yeah, they coming back. So we go back and hide. We back in another hide for like another 20-30 minutes. Now, the whole time, I'm on my radio on the radio trying to raise the unit, the element. Nothing. I'm keying the mic, radio silence. The lady comes back, she goes, they know you're here. You have to leave. So we like, what? You know, I'm like, what you talking about? She's like, they know you're here. And he's like, we still kind of oblivious because one of the main rules that we were taught from boot camp is you never leave anybody behind. It's always a 2-man rule. Like, you have to be accountable for everybody. So I left the dude in the hide. I walk out with the lady I'm trying to talk to, and I just peeked outside of the orphanage. I took a little peek outside. And you ever been to the wrong neighborhood and people know that you're not from that neighborhood, and you walk outside, you walk back out, you go inside the store, you come back outside the store, and it's just people, just dudes, they just was out there. So I go back inside, go to my dude. I was like, man, it's getting ready to get sticky, bro. We gotta, we thinking right there we're gonna make a last stand. So she says, I might be able to get you some help. Just hold on. So about 5 minutes later, some Italian Marines show up, and we knew where our unit was going after they left us. So we like, all right, just take us to the flight line and we'll be all right. So them dudes took us out to the flight line. We got to the flight line, our unit was gone. So the Italian dudes, they fed us, got some food. It just so happens it was an Italian dude from Long Island. He says, hey man, because he spoke perfect English. He came over, he says, hey man, I know where some Marines are. And we like, oh shit, woo, all right, cool. Gotta be our guys. Man, this dude took us to the back, and it was 2 Marines back there. They were communication and intelligence guys. It was a sergeant and a lance corporal. And they living in a Connex box. Now, if you could just imagine, we in Somalia, we on the Horn of Africa. So they at the beach. So it's on one side of us, it's the Indian Ocean. On the other side of us is Mogadishu, Somalia. So the dude is like, man, the best I could do is I could call your unit and let them know y'all are here, but you can't stay with us because there's sensitive materials. Like, nigga, listen, we got the highest classification clearance there is known to man. There's nothing that we can't see. Because I belonged to a unit, it was FAST company, it was a fleet anti-terrorism strike team. So, and I was a part of the FROG unit, so it was a fast reaction operational group. So we were privy to a lot of different things. And because we were assigned to guard the embassies and different sensitive stuff, we had those clearances. So it's not like you couldn't have put us up. But he's like, he called the unit. He was like, I let them know, but we have reason to believe that this base is going to get hit tonight. Y'all can't stay here. And we're looking at each other like, what the fuck? Now the dude outranks me. And I'm like, well, what do you suggest, Sergeant? He's like, I don't know what to tell you. I'm like, all right. So me and the dude, we dig a fighting hole, a spider hole at the bottom of the Connex boxes. So like I said, to our left is the Indian Ocean. To our right is the country of Somalia. It's starting to get dark. These other 2 Marines, they came, they closed up their little Connex box. They locked themselves inside the Connex box, which I thought was kind of crazy, but anyway. So we just sit.
We did. Not to interrupt you, but what is that, a Connex box? It's like...
So, you ever seen, they be on the trains. They transport all kinds of things on ships. So it's just like a big metal box.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean.
And usually they sit on the back of a 18-wheeler, but you'll mostly see them on the back of trains. And usually what they do in certain combat situations, what they'll do is they'll actually fly them shits in country. They have the engineers come, they dig a hole, and they put the Connex box in the hole. So you got like a little bit of protection. But these niggas lived in a Connex box where the one they were working out of was underground, and the one they lived in was above that one. It was stacked on top of each other. There wasn't enough room for us to be in there, and I really didn't want to be in there anyway because it's just a kill track. That shit is a bullet magnet. So me and my boy Flea, we got back to back. Like I said, we dug a spider hole / fighting hole, and we just making all, hey, if something happens to me, you do this. If something happens to you, you do this. It starts to get dark. My man, the world went crazy. We start seeing tracers come over us. The base is getting hit. The Italian Marines we were staying with not even a couple hours ago, their shit's getting mashed up. Everybody's getting mashed up. So I
What
decided,
you mean, dudes is coming through there? You mean some airstrikes? Or I mean, how? What dudes is doing? They just shooting it up.
They just shooting it up. And Somalis, and I don't even sort of less developed countries, you'll notice sometimes when they show the reports coming back, these dudes be on the back of these Toyota trucks. We used to call them technicals because they could put anything on the back of that shit. They could put a 107, they could put a 12 millimeter, they could have put a 50 cal. They could put anything on the back of them shits. And it's a mobile transport. It's like a troop carrier, like even a tank, but it's a Toyota. So what these dudes would do is they would go back and forth up and down the line and just busting off shots. If they had motors in the back of them, they could bust them shits off. That 12-7 was wicked. They could bust them shits off. So like I said, once it got dark, the whole world just opened up. It literally sounds like 4th of July, when the shit just start coming off and it just rumbles. So we know we in the bad place. So I look at the other Marine I'm with. I was like, we know that there's another spot that we could go to, but our dilemma is now it's dark. There's running gunfights all over the place, and we have no way of identifying ourselves to anybody, and they don't have any way of identifying themselves to us. So I'm a brother. The dude I was with, he a white boy. So you figure if we stack up and we start moving, if I'm in front, chances are I might get shot because I look like a Somali. If he's in front, chances are he's gonna get lit up because the Somalis are gonna notice that he's not one of them. So we in a dilemma. So we in literally a running gun battle.
So y'all came out of the joint that y'all dug?
Yeah, we had to get out of there, bro. We had to get out of there. Literally, it was the Indian Ocean on our left-hand side and the city.
So y'all felt like they was about to find that and just tear it up, or what?
So not only that, but what they would do is like, okay, say you standing across the street and I'm in the middle of the street. You know where I am, but I don't know where you are. So you would fire some shots at us and disperse. And then you might fire some shots at us and disperse. So you're using a clock method. When you first started firing at us, you was at 12 o'clock. When the second time you open up on us, you at 3 o'clock. You open up at us again, you at 6 o'clock. Now, between you and me, there might be friendly forces on the other side. So somebody at 12 o'clock could take some shots at us. If we open up on you after you left, we might end up shooting it might be blue on blue. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to get ourselves someplace to an elevated place. We didn't want anything behind us. We wanted to get to an elevated place so we know nothing's behind us, but we could see everything. We was in an ideal spot originally because the Indian Ocean was behind us. There was nobody that could sneak up on us, but we had no field of vision in front of us. The Rangers were on one side, the Italians were on another side, the Pakistanis were on the other side. So we could take incoming, but we couldn't see. We didn't have a clear shot to anything. We didn't know. So it could have been UN troops shooting at us. It could have been anybody. And for us to try to defend ourselves from that position, people would have been able to get too close to us too quickly for us to, especially it's just two of us. He had a Remington 800. I had the Remington 800. I had my M16A2 with my 40 millimeter grenade launcher and 9 millimeter Beretta. He had one, I had one. So I only had about 7 rounds a 40 millimeter. That's the grenade launcher. I had 120 rounds. My loadout was 120 rounds, 5.56, 30 rounds, 300 Win Mag, 45 rounds, 9 millimeter. He had the same thing minus the M16. He didn't have an M16 because he was the designated marksman for this operation. So all he had was his Remington, and he had 18 shots plus the 45 9 millimeter shots. So we could not sustain a defensive position for more than, you know, it would have been, we would have got killed, bro. We would have got wiped the fuck out had we not decided to move when we did. So what we decided to do is we left where we were. We made our way to the Pakistani Stadium. If you remember, in Black Hawk Down, that was one of the major rally points for the UN, was the Pakistani Stadium. If we could get there, we would be all right, because, you know, we would be able to, at the very least, the guards at the gate would recognize that we were a multinational force, and they would have made a corridor for us to get through. So as we leave the flight line, like I said, it's pitch black. We had I had a Raykel. We had one night scope, but other than that, we didn't have no nods or nothing like that. This is in the 90s, so we didn't really have all that high speed shit. So we finally make it to the Pakistani Stadium. So, whew, all right, cool, we're good. But it's not good because the Pakistanis, they don't fight. So they would let the Somalis overrun them, take their shit, do whatever, hoping that they would spare them. So once we get to the top of the stadium, we realize, okay, this wasn't the best thing to do, but at least we up high. We hired in, I want to say, 80% of the buildings within a good 300, 400 yard radius, which gives us an advantage because we got the long guns. So we set up a high, we snooping and pooping, we picking off, we can pick off, but we don't want to do too much because it's only us two. We don't have any comm, so we just gotta have patience and hold it down and hopefully make it to the morning, because we knew that our unit knew.
Let me ask you this one thing though.
Go ahead.
Has it ever been known for one of them Somalians to show love to a black U.S. soldier?
So
Marine?
that's yes, sir. That's the point I was getting ready to get into. So one of the not a lot of people know exactly what was going on on the ground in Somalia. Not too many people know that the main warlord during that time, Adid, his son was an American citizen, and he was also a Marine. But he was with the 1st Marine Division, who had already come and go. But what we had an arrangement with USALO, the United States Liaison Office, is when the Americans first got in the country, what they would do is, if y'all were the top 3 clans, for them to get a way in to divide and conquer, that's the only way that I'm not going to hold back anything. The only way, because it was people not eating, only the strongest clans, the strongest groups got the run of the country. There's a lot of political shit, a lot of tribal shit going on over there. So what we would do initially when we first got in country is we would train members of the group that the dark side was working with. And we called them dark side, but we knew that they were Department of State, CIA, military intelligence. So we would work with them, and we would train the younger men how to protect themselves or defend themselves or what have you. So I want to say maybe 3-4 o'clock in the morning, we see a big group of Somalis moving in our direction. Now, they're not firing, they're not taking no fire, they're not shooting at nothing. And the crazy shit is, we watching these dudes and they having a conversation with the guards.
Y'all inside or outside at this point?
We're inside, but stadiums is open. So we're inside the stadium, we're up high in the stands. But we're
now,
exposed.
What you mean stadium? Not like what?
A stadium. It was actual is a football stadium.
Oh, and they was using it. They was using it as like a base.
As a rally point. Yeah, they had U.S. UN coalition forces had a lot of heavy equipment, tanks, armored personnel carriers, and it was just one of the. It wasn't too far from Bakara Market, and it was a stronghold for the UN, and it was big enough for them to do whatever they needed to do with their equipment. So, like we said, we're watching these dudes, and the dude is motioning to us. Like, he's motioning in our direction, not the Somali dudes, the Pakistanis. So I hit Flea on the leg. I said, yo, this nigga is showing this motherfucker where we at. So we was like, fuck it. We laced up. I had a smoke grenade. He had a Willie Pete grenade. Anything happens, we're gonna bust the Willie Pete. We're gonna dip, and we're gonna fall back and fight. Whatever we could do, cover and maneuver, shoot, move, and communicate. So about 3 minutes after that, one of the Pakistanis came, and he's like, "There's some people downstairs. They say they know you." Now, nobody knows we're in this area, Laz. None of our people know that we are. The last thing anybody knows is we back behind them Connex boxes. Nobody knows that we here. Come to find out that the lady that was at the orphanage was either an aunt or a cousin of a group of kids that we had been training weeks prior. So I go down, I see the little shorty, I remember him, his name is Maldu. He's like, Walker, you gotta come with us. And I'm looking at the Marine I'm with, and he's already scared. And I'm like, I don't know, bro. He's like, you can't stay here. You gotta come with us. So I said, hold on. I go and talk to Philetus. I say, Flea, whatever happens, bro, we just go all out. You don't turn your back on anybody, I don't turn my back on anybody, and we'll just go. But we had trained these dudes. So what they did is they brought us back to the orphanage, put us on top of the roof, and they stayed with us until just before sunrise, and they left. And maybe about 10-15 minutes later, our unit came to pick us up. So now when they came to pick us up, that Black Hawk Down operation is going into effect. We don't know it, but it's starting to bust off in the city. And that picture that I had sent you, we used to carry around these little bullshit disposable Kodaks. The little Kodak cameras, you know, the little shit was made out of cardboard. So as I get into the back of because we used to drive around in these Land Cruisers, skirted out, and shits had to be like $175,000 a piece, $250,000 a piece, because it was fully armored, crazy leather and all that shit. So our unit comes to get us, we bag and grab. Not even 3 minutes while we going, we gotta leave the orphanage, and we driving by the Pakistani stadium. Bro, they lit our shit up. Disabled one of the vehicles, and we literally had a running gunfight, bro. It was like 4.5-5 miles all the way back to the ship. And it was, when you talk about being terrified, but the thing was, Here we are with $100,000 worth of equipment on, boots, camis, this, that, body armor, second chance vest, da da da. The shorties that came and picked us up, they had on flip flops and AK-47s, B.
For people who don't know, like, what was that move? What was that about, the Black Hawk Down situation? Like, what had happened out there?
So what they were trying to do is they were trying to catch the heads of these clans. So there were 4 or 5 major clans in the city of Mogadishu, and then you had clans from the outskirts of Somalia. And what they were trying to do, the Horn of Africa, man, is a very logistical, is a very important, place logistically. And it's my belief that the United States was trying to control the Horn of Africa, because if you can control the Horn of Africa, you basically can control the top entry point to the Red Sea. It's in close proximity to Ethiopia. I mean, it's just a big place. And Adid was a part of that group that went to the School of America, so he knew things about the older Bush that I'm sure they didn't want to come out. He was in that class with Noriega, the dude from Venezuela. Like, there's a lot of things, bro, that that we don't know the full story on. But basically, they wanted, since Adid was so influential, they wanted to get these guys, so that they were thinking that if they were able to get these guys, everybody else would fall into place. But that's not how Somalia is, bro. Them people will fight. They have knocked off every colonizer that has tried to come into that part of the world, whether it be the Italians, the Germans, because we were meeting Somali children, we were meeting Somali children that could speak 3, 4 different European languages on top of the Arabic and the clan languages. So it's a very powerful landmass, and those dudes were just trying to do whatever they could do to destabilize that region. And because Adid at one point did the bidding of the United States, what better way to continue to get into that part of the world than to get him out? But it backfired on them. It's still not a stable place today. They do have people in that part of the world that are working there. It's like everybody all over the world dislikes the things that the United States does, and they're not standing for it anymore. So, I mean, that's really the biggest part of it. They were just trying to...
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Before we was recording, you said something that was real deep. You said 2 things. You said you was talking about you was feeling like you was either going off yourself, or because of course, man, I know a couple of dudes who saw serious combat, and when they came home, they was never the same again. Like, I've seen dudes go from happy, sharp, intelligent dudes, young dudes. And I know a dude who did 2 tours in Afghanistan, and he came home, and I don't see that happiness no more.
Listen, man, listen. I went to a school once, and in the front of the class, they had in big letters, "Murder was invented before man began to think. Now man is known as the thinking animal." And the intelligence of human beings, think of the intelligence that it takes to be an architect, the intelligence that it takes to be a surgeon, an attorney, just the intelligence that human beings possess. Now, take that individual, make his life rough for a few months, and teach him the art of war fighting, bro. And at the end of the day, let's not get it messed up. Murder is murder, bro. Murder is murder. And the thing is, when you go through, and I can't speak for any other branch, I can only speak for the Marine Corps, there's but so much that they can do in training to simulate the actual combat. But as powerful as this body is, as all the wonderful things that you see human beings do, whether it's hitting a baseball, dunking, finding out the theory of relativity, this is a bag, bro. This is a very fragile bag of meat. So if you ever seen, you know, back in the day when girls used to do their little hair, or, you know, people burn their nails, or you smell of burnt hair, you can't unsee certain things. That's just like Shah was talking about on one of these episodes, where he's seen so many things when behind the walls, and so many other people that you have on, and they talk about the things that they've seen, the person that you have to become to survive in an environment. But they train you. But you know what happens? Once you do what you've been trained to do, there's no place where they bring you in and say, hey, this, that, and the third. Or even take it, compare us to a computer. So you get a computer, you want your computer to do certain things, you go ahead and do something to the hard drive, you take the hard drive out, you fix it up, you put it in, the computer can do whatever you want to do. There's no way that they could bring us back in and take out what we've been exposed to, what we had to do, what we've experienced, what we smelled, seen, heard. Take all that shit out and put us back in there. Our original self before we was exposed to that. They can't do that. So yeah, like it has taken me years, bro, to put myself back together, simply because once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. Once you've heard it, you can't unhear it. And you know, there's been some wonderful things that they're able to do with psilocybin and mushrooms and this and that, as far as getting these veterans a reset. But for the most part, it doesn't happen, bro. And you think about it, man. When I think about it, if I tried to use what I was trained to do in the freedom of our people, they would do me just like they did that sheriff from LA so many years ago. You know, it's different when the rabbit got a gun. And you know, it's crazy, the day I got back from Somalia, blood on my boots, my people come to pick me up. I grew up in Eastchester off of Gun Hill, Eastchester Projects off of Gun Hill Road. So my people took me to White Plains. We went to a club, Act 3. My family, my cousins, blah, blah, blah. My cousin ended up getting stabbed up that night. Like, we spread out on the line. Him and my other dude, they walk up to the front of the line. This dude, I don't really know him too hot, but he pulled out a burner. I guess he must have realized he used a burner to cut the line, and then must have realized before it was time for him to go into the club, oh shit, I can't take this in with me. But the niggas he backed up off the line, they didn't leave. They didn't go anywhere. So when he left the line to go put the shit back in the car, my cousin's still in the front of the line. The dudes that got off the line, they ate him. They just rushed him from all sides. All we see is the commotion up front, blah, blah, blah. So I see my cousin, he get off the line, he walking back, because we was dispersed throughout the line. So he holding the collar of his shirt. And I'm like, yo, what happened? What's up? Yo, lads, he let the shirt go and just squirting, blood squirting out. Oh, we like, oh shit, jump off the line, grab him up. All I know is I go to my TCCC. Boom, where's, stop the bleeding, start the bleeding, treat for shock. Boom, boom, we just trying to stop the bleeding. We get in the car, drive to the hospital. He lives. The doctor said the only reason he did live is because we were so intoxicated that night, he didn't go in the shop. So this is bugging me out because not even 12 hours ago, I'm on the ground in Somalia. And y'all dudes is over here fighting with each other about nonsense, and there's people all over the world, our age, fighting for their freedom. And y'all dudes is out here trying to murk each other for a cut in line, or you think it was smart enough for you to go up to the head of this line, you don't know who is who, and you back out a burn on somebody and you don't do nothing? Come on, bro. Come on, bro. We've been spending so many years and wasting so much manpower. If you think about it, there's two types of people walking on this planet right now. You have the one person that's original to every part of this planet. Anywhere you go, you have seen proof that we are there or we have been there. Then you have another person on this planet who's not aboriginal to any part of this world. And when these both individuals go into the military, you get transported all over the world, and you watching the news reports that are coming from the United States, and you would think that black people are destroying America. Now here you are, you're a white boy, you all over the world killing shit that don't look like you. I'm getting kind of heated, so pardon my language. Here you are, you running all over the world, doing all kinds of crazy wickedness to people that don't look like you. So of course, when you come back to the United States, it's easy for you to kill something that don't look like you. So here we have America now that's been in battle. They've been in a major war for the last 20 years. Why do you think inside of the last, I want to say 8 to 10 years, there has been such an uptick in murdering black boys, black young people, black people in general? Because, my man, they've been spending the last 10, 15, 20 years killing people that don't look like them. So it's easy for you to get out of the police car and just let it go. We used to have a saying going through training: when in doubt, let two out. So it is easy, bro. It is easy to kill something. It's hard to come to terms with yourself as a human being, especially being a person of melanin. That like I said when we first started this conversation, I have done more crimes against humanity than any person that you have interviewed for this channel. Think about it. Think about what you got. You spent your little vacations behind the wall. Think about what you was doing, and think about what they did to you. Bro, I could show you a couple after action reports from my unit and show you the awards and medals and my fruit salad on my uniform. You ever notice when you see them dudes in military uniforms, they got the racks over their left breast pocket, right? Mm-hmm. Every other one of those ribbons and medals means murder. It means murder, other than the good conduct medal and the service, the active service medals. Everything else there is for murder. Everything. Combat action ribbon, meritorious service ribbon, Naval Marine Corps service ribbon with combat V. Silver Star, Bronze Star. Come on, bro. That's again, that's why that's one of the reasons it is so easy for these dudes that's riding around here in these blue uniforms to murder us. I guarantee it. We just got to do better as a people, bro. And to hear the stories that I've been hearing, especially with that brother Ebron, to hear his passion and his pain come out when he talks about just I couldn't even imagine having that type of job. That's why after my enlistment, when I got out, there was no way that I was gonna go and do law enforcement, because I had seen so much wearing that uniform as a Marine. And I'm coming home, you know, I get leave, I come home for 10 days, 30 days, sitting on the corner with my people. They happy I came home. You know, we might be drinking a little 40 or something. The boys roll up. They roll up. Sometimes they will roll up and pull their guns out, not knowing that it's a gang of guns in the bushes. But they just coming out like bullies, and then, you know, hey, hold on. I show them my ID. Hey, hold on, man. Chill. Oh, yeah, you stand over here. Well, why the fuck I'm standing over here? Well, you're a Marine, and I said, nah. The only reason these dudes are standing here is because I just got home, and we having a couple drinks. We're not doing nothing. We ain't hurting nobody. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of work to be done, and I see it on my end with the work that I'm doing with these young people. I'm a Bronx dude. I grew up in the Bronx, but I'm literally 350 children deep in Brooklyn, just through the work that I've been doing at the Promise. You know, we got 3 groups of 6 and 7 year olds, 3 groups of 8 and 9 year olds, 3 groups of 10 and 11 year olds, 2 groups of 12 and 13, and then we got a teen, an adolescent group. And I mean, bro, I talk to 8-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, 9-year-olds every day. And if we don't do better, we are going to lose more and more of our young people. And I think that's why I use your platform in my teen study group, because, you know, there's some young men and young girls that are trying to get active now, and you know that this gang shit in New York is just crazy. At least, you know, when I was growing up, we had the guards and you know maybe a couple of crews, but there were rules when we was coming up. There were certain things we just wouldn't do. I'm 54 years old and I still have respect for my elders. Well, how is it that these young people don't respect us anymore? What happened? What happened to that? What did we do, or what didn't we do? And, you know, I do have my master's in social work, and what I'm finding out, man, is these young people, they're angry with us. Just like we were angry with the guys in the previous generation, because they ain't leave us nothing. And we out here naked. There's no way, there's no reason for us to have the level of violence that we do in our neighborhoods and not be in a position at this point in our sojourn in this part of the world, not have the ability to control our neighborhoods, or control our communities. So you can't just come in here and do what you want. There wouldn't be any Trayvon Martins. There wouldn't be any Sandra Bland. They wouldn't just kill us wholesale the way that they do, because they knew if they do something to us, something could happen to one of y'all. And if people ain't smart about it, if people not really looking at the times now, America's slowly fading away. That whole mindset, all that story that they kept, that story that they convince the whole world that this was the bastion of freedom and equality. Nah, bro, we seeing it now. Young people are seeing it now. And, you know, we have given birth to a cold, heartless generation. I don't know how many years between you and I, but I would have to say that your generation got like the last part of the raising of a child. You know, you had certain rules, you had brought up. You know, there were certain things that you would and would not do. I can hear it just when you talking on your lives and everything else, that you are an honorable young man. So what happened? And then when you stop and you look at the people that's younger than you, I know you even sometimes it's like, God damn, like we never did no shit like that. And we was wild. I grew up, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, I'm 54. I was born in 1968. You know, 78, I'm 10. 88, I'm 20. So I came up in a New York that was like, holy shit, like it was a bombed out place and all of this. But at least even then, there was a sense of community, bro. You know, you couldn't just go to anybody's block. You couldn't do even on your block. There's certain things that you just didn't do on your block. Now I'm seeing levels, I'm seeing things, I'm seeing how young people do things, man, that it's hard for me to fathom. It's hard.
Yeah, it's because nobody in power that has that level of influence is having the balls to just, you know, change the narrative. Everybody want to stick to the script to get $1. And you understand what I'm saying?
Here's another thing too. I read a report, man, a couple of years ago. I'm in the process of working on my PhD right now. There was in Africa, what they started doing is because they were killing so many bull elephants. They started to see the younger bull elephants do things that they've never done before. I mean, they were raping each other. They were raping rhinoceroses. They were killing people. Like the young bull elephants were doing things that they never ever did before. It's safe to say that the same thing is occurring in our community. I'm not supposed to be here, lads. I could tell you, like when I listen to your podcast, there isn't one that I haven't heard where I say to myself, yo, that could have been me, bro. That could have been me. And it just, when I could have went left, there was always an adult there that checked me. There was always, and even if it wasn't an adult, it was an older young man or older woman that was like, listen, we don't do that. Or we took accountability for each other. If I did something in my neighborhood, trust and believe, by the time I got home, my mother knew what was going on. Or somebody in the neighborhood would check me. Man, you say something to these little dudes out here now, they want to let you have it.
Straight up. I mean, I feel like, I grew up, I was young in like the early 90s, late 80s. And dudes, it was some brazen things going on at that time. But now it's like, these seem like a bunch of kids who were never raised by anybody. Like, it was a few of those in the hood back then. It was a nice handful of those dudes who, they didn't have no parents to raise them. They was just out in the streets on their own, raising themselves. But now it's like, it's hordes of kids that's raising themselves out here now. It was a few bad apples in the bunch that just didn't have a decent upbringing or a decent parent in the home back then. But now it's like, man, you got gangs of kids that's out here raising their own, raising themselves.
And listen, Laz, I gotta say it, and you know, it's because I think this was done intentionally.
I mean, like we were speaking about, yeah. I mean, like, bro, you know, we're a people that we're still suffering from the effects of slavery. No matter how much people want to act like it was so long ago, whatever, it's still you could actually see, even with what's going on with me, how many haters I got and all of that. These are effects of slavery, man. You understand? We were taught to bring each other down. You feel what I'm saying? And it's like it comes from being poor for eons. It comes from living in condensed neighborhoods, 4-block radius neighborhoods with thousands and thousands of families condensed into one area where everybody trying to get the same $50. You understand what I'm saying? And we at each other's throats because, you know, life is hard where we come from in these ghettos and these projects and stuff like that. So we end up desensitized to the feelings or lives of others. Like, you understand? Like, either we get this money or we gonna be poor, living in extreme poverty and seeing our loved ones, our mothers, our sisters, brothers suffer. So dudes start doing erratic things and making erratic decisions until that becomes the normal behavior. You frown, niggas, people look down on you. Oh, you ain't out here trying to get no money and take care of your family? You a sucker. You understand what I'm saying?
Man, it's crazy, like the moral, it's just a moral decay, man.
Yeah,
it's just
man.
A moral decay,
but you got people like you out there doing stuff, and let me tell you this, bro, just for the record, like, you know, as far as the things that you can't unsee and you feeling like a murderer and stuff like that, the bottom line, because of what you had to do when your back was against the wall, like, bruh, you know, none of us knew the world was this ugly. Even when you signed up for the Marines, you may have been excited and wanted some action, but none of us knew that the world was this ugly.
Yeah.
Because where we come from is some order. Like, we take this for granted, but this is order. Like, where I'm sitting at right now doing this interview, I'm in a pretty decent neighborhood in the Bronx. And I'm looking at, you know, people going into the CVS and people going into the Dunkin' Donuts, minding their business. But while you're telling your story, I'm thinking about what could be going on in Somalia right now. You feel me? So it's like, this is a matrix right here that comes from, you know, all right, we're going to give y'all an area where people could live a normal, half stress-free, half anxiety-free life. But in the real world, people are going to war for their simple freedoms.
Simple things. Shoes, socks, the right to be there. Just the right to be there. The right to be right here. Just the
Yeah, bro. So, you know, whatever you had to do when you was over there, I know, you know, that weigh on your conscience, man, because we're human beings. And as we get older, we have more regrets of what we did when we were young. When you young, dumb, and full of cum, you do a lot of stupid stuff that when you get older, you look back on and say, nah, that was wrong. Like, I shouldn't have did that. You understand what I'm saying? So you can't beat yourself up for that because, like I said, none of us knew the world was this ugly, man. But it is.
Yeah. Now, I've been putting it back together, man. Let me tell you, bro, I got some warriors, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm probably the luckiest man alive, man. You know what I'm saying? I got 5 beautiful sons, man. A wonderful wife. You know, I get to act like a 6 or 7 or 8-year-old, a 9-year-old every day, man, and just being that beacon of light to tell these young people, man, that there is a better way, bro. Yeah, you're gonna get knocked around, and there's gonna be trials and this, whatever. But you know what? Keep getting up, keep applying that pressure. Make sure your heart is clean. Don't hate on anybody. Like, I can't even understand how people can hate on you, but I can. You know what I'm saying? Because it's the shine, bro. It's the shine. It's your shine. It's the glow coming through you. You know what I mean? And you know, it seems like every week you get like another 1,000 followers. Every other week you get another followers, and you're from the heart with it, man. You can see, man. You're pure with it, man.
Appreciate you.
Pure with it.
LAZ, if you love what I'm doing on this channel, you already snow cone. Feel free to send a Cash App donation.
All I saw was that cat. And let me tell you, bro, I seen dudes take 50 caliber rounds and keep coming. I seen dudes get hit and the arm will come off. And they keep coming. They keep coming. They keep coming.
Hey yo, check this new series, Boots on the Ground. You heard where we talking to combat veterans and listening to some of the stories they got to tell. You heard? Shout out to the bro Gunny Walker, Eastchester, the Bronx. You feel me? Setting this whole first season off. And that's a fact. LAZ, Z-Man. You heard? Pay attention. And let's learn something.
That the spirit of man could beat any weapon, bro. The spirit of man could beat any weapon. Because I don't care who you talk to. You could talk to anybody that was on the ground over there. The United States got their ass kicked by fearless warriors wearing AK-47s and flip-flops. In order for you to kill something, you have to dehumanize it. So that's how we ended up being called niggas. In Somali, they call them skinnies. In Iraq and Afghanistan, they call them hajis. And what was really crazy, so Somalia is a Muslim country. I sent you one picture, and I was in the middle. I want to say I was in the middle of like a dozen Somali guys. The guy that's standing to my right was an interpreter who decided to work. He was born and raised in Somalia, but he had some way, somehow found himself. He offered his services as an interpreter, and the rest of those guys around him were like his family. And what they did is they would work on base during the day, and at a specific time they pushed them off base. Well, some of those dudes would measure off how many steps it was from the gate to this particular spot, or just they would measure off the distances around the university compound. And every night we would take incoming. So in order for the UN, the United States, to have a safety corridor, we just put up designated marksmen. So those technicals I was telling you about, we had one guy, it took us days to figure out how this guy was getting these rounds onto the compound. But he had one of those little technicals I was telling you about, but the back of the technical was a Toyota. The front of the technical was just a donkey. So he was pulling the ass end of the Toyota truck. And it always looked like there was junk in the back of this Toyota truck, this thing. So what he would do is he ride up one side of dead cow, take the cover off. He had a 60mm mortar, bust off 3 rounds, cover it back up, and float down on the other side of the road. And for days, nobody could figure out where this incoming fire was until they put these guys up. And we watched them. We studied the human. Studied the human. So we watched them I watched them one day. It had to be, it was 2 cycles, so we literally watched them for 8 hours. And just like clockwork, when the people would leave the compound to go, we noticed that people would stop by this little truck. At first we thought that they was like buying water or what have you, but they were just giving him distances and elevation and what have you. And he had drove down to one end of the road to do what he was tasked to do, and he's not here anymore. And it seemed like everybody on that compound was trying to get a shot at that guy. But just to give you an idea of like the inhumanity of some of the people that I was around, when those guys would come on base in the morning, we'd give them water, 3 liters of water. And that water was to sustain them throughout the day. And one of the things what made me start to admire these people is, it was so hot over there, Laz. I mean, you seen that one picture of the compound I sent you. See how bright that building looks? It was so hot over there, bro. Like, we would go through water. We used to carry 2 canteens of water, and you could go through those 2 canteens every hour. That's how hot it was. And we was watching these guys, man. These guys never drink the water. They mix a lot with it. And it was comical to me to hear the guys that I was with talk about how savage these people were, where we had access to showers and dudes didn't bathe on a regular basis. Guys had access to showers and would not bathe. But here we are in 100-degree plus weather. We give these people that water, and it perplexed these Caucasians that I was around, that these dudes would not drink the water. They would use it to cleanse themselves 4 or 5 times a day while they was there to make prayer. And it just boggled my mind how you think that you are civilized and you don't understand how really uncivilized you are.
That's wild. Let me ask you though, that the dude that you said had the donkey, you said they caught him while he was trying to come around and let off those rounds again?
Yeah.
And what you mean? All of y'all, or just like what happened? Everybody just started firing at him? Like he thought he was coming through thinking that dude still didn't know who he was? Like,
right, because he had been so successful with it. I mean, this is probably going on, I want to say it was anywhere between 7 to 10 days that we, all of a sudden now we started taking fire from these mortar rounds.
And you said it was coming, the fire was coming inside, it was getting inside?
Yeah, so like a mortar round, you drop the shot in the tube and it flies up and it does like an arc. Like, it's not a direct fire weapon. It's a defilade weapon. It's a weapon that fires into spots that you don't have a direct line of sight to. So all you got to do is set the elevation, set the distance. You set it on the tube. Once you get bubble up means it's just like if you've ever tried to level something level a picture or something, you get a little tape measure. It's got the bubble up top, and when the bubbles in between those two lines, that means that you on target. So, like I said, we have been watching. Now, the fact that we have been watching this guy go back and forth, and we figured out, shit, there's a tube in this joint. Anybody who had access to our frequency, our net. So some Army people came down. We had some guys from Delta came down. Some guys from the SEALs came down, because the where the embassy was positioned, it was on the corner of the university compound. So it was the corner, the embassy, a huge wall, and then the rest of Somalia. So that weapon, he was so close to the wall that he couldn't get a hit on where we were, the embassy. Those rounds would pop off and go maybe, fly over our heads and hit deep into the university compound. So I'm pretty sure they were trying to get to the control, the command and control element of that embassy compound. Because in the middle of the compound, for some strange reason, it was a huge, big, bright white water tower. I don't know whose idea that was, but that had to be in the center of the university compound. So all you had to do if you walked into the gate is just walk up to it. It's called a pace count. Every other step, that's a meter. A meter's 3 feet. So once you walked up to the center, all you had to do was jot down how many steps it took me to get here. And on your way out the base, just pass your paper to the dude. And that's all. It was just harassment fire, really. It wasn't, let me bust off a few, and it was just to keep our heads down and harassment. So when people knew that we had eyes on the threat, everybody wanted a piece of that. And, telling by the look of this guy, I don't think he was a day younger than 60. But it didn't take much for him. He jumped on his little cart. The ass end was the flatbed of the Toyota. The front end was just a cart, a donkey cart. And that's
what you mean? It was an actual donkey pulling it?
A donkey pulling it.
And did that donkey get tore up too?
Yeah, man. Anything on that road, anything that didn't have a UN symbol on it, it wasn't in a white vehicle, or if the occupants, we see people walking around, the UN, we wore these light blue berets. If you didn't have on a light blue beret, you was getting it. And there's no warning shots.
But they was letting him rock before? Like, they saw him go by before and just thought he was an old man?
Yeah. And like I said, we would see him every day. We saw him every day. And it never occurred to us that this is what this guy is doing.
So after that, it probably was a wrap, right? Like, nobody was able to come through that shit.
No, what they did is what those guys started doing. So you had that wall, you had Dead Cow Road, you had an open field, and I want to say 300 yards from that open field, it's just buildings going all the way across. So what they started doing is they just started holding up in those buildings. That's all. And the fire actually became a little bit more accurate and a little bit more deadly. That the spirit of man could beat any weapon, bro. The spirit of man could beat any weapon. Because I don't care who you talk to. You could talk to anybody that was on the ground over there. The United States got their ass kicked by fearless warriors wearing AK-47s and flip-flops. And let me tell you, those people were so, I don't want to say poor, because when you say people are poor, you base it on what we think is
American,
rich.
we base it on spoiled American standards.
Yeah. With them dudes, bro, they would take a t-shirt and wear a t-shirt like a pair of pants and have a t-shirt on and a bandolier of 7.62 by 39, an AK-47, and flip-flops, and a bag of cat. And they taught the U.S. an asshole, bro.
A bag of what?
Cat. You know, like that hallucinogenic they take? K-N-A-T?
They don't fuck with that blam blam over there?
What's that?
That gunpowder mixed with cocaine?
That was Liberia, bro.
They was fucking with that in Liberia only?
Yeah, that's the only place I saw it. In Somalia, all I saw was that cat. And let me tell you, bro, I seen dudes take 50 caliber rounds and keep coming. I seen dudes get hit and the arm will come off, and they keep coming. They keep coming. They keep coming. Them little 5.56, them M16s with that 5.56, yeah, you'd have to hit somebody with a magazine. You'd have to hit somebody with damn near 28 rounds, bro, to get them to stop moving. Just because the round is so small and so fast, you know, it do a lot of damage. But unless it was like a headshot, they gonna come, bro. They gonna keep coming, man. They gonna keep coming.
You said that was the U.S. Embassy in Somalia with Dead Cow Road?
Yep. On one side it was Dead Cow Road. On the other side, we gave the road the nickname September 13th. We called it September 13th because there was a huge skirmish on that side. There was some I don't know what these dudes, they was from the army. I don't know what they was doing out there one day. They might have been out there doing some crowd control or something. Or they was doing something they shouldn't have been doing. And they got their ass torn up. And when they got close to the embassy compound, these dudes were so frantic, they tried to blow a hole in the wall to get through the wall. But these walls, they like anywhere between 10 to 15 feet deep into the ground, another 10, 12 feet high. They didn't put razor wire on it. What they would do is they put wet cement and put bottles and glass on top of the wall. And then when the cement dries, what they would do is they would just break the bottles that were on the wall. So you have like all these pieces of jagged glass on the top of the wall. And the walls were reinforced concrete with rebar in it. So these knuckleheads, instead of making contact with us to let them in, they tried to blow a hole through the wall. And the dudes that was on duty on that side of the wall didn't know that it was U.S. forces trying to displace after contact, and ended up firing on them until they figured out, oh shit, they on the same team. So combat is really confusing, man. There's a lot of confusion.
We started talking about the type of weapon that Somali 60-year-old dude had again. What are you talking about? I seen them shits like a little, I know what you're talking about.
So imagine a tube, right? A tube, and what they do is you just hold the round at the top of the tube and you drop the round in there.
Yeah, how that shit shoot off? What makes it shoot off when the round drop?
So inside of that tube is a firing pin at the base of it, and around the ass end of the projectile there's propellant. So it's just like a one shot, like a zip gun. So you drop it in there. Some of them have time fuse. Some of them are automatic. So some of them, when you drop them in there, they'll be in there a half a second or 2 seconds. Or you might even have to activate it yourself. Some of them have triggers on them. Some of the tubes have triggers. So you have to physically squeeze.
Now these is actual manufactured weapons, or they be making them shits?
Oh no, these are actual manufactured weapons, bro. These are actually just pop it in the tube, boop boop boop, and depending on how far away the shot is, most of them have an effective range of like 1,000 meters. Most of them, most of them have 3 settings: air burst, on contact, or like a time delay. So some of them they'll come down to about 50 feet and then explode. Other ones, high explosive, dual purpose, they're literally on contact. Once they hit the ground, they explode. Then you got the other joints. You could bust them off. They'll hit the ground, and then it's like a time delay. Or some of them had drills on it. So you pop one off, it'll go up, it'll come down, it'll hit the ground, drill into the ground, and then go off. That's usually for like bunkers or hard positions.
What type of joints he was shooting up in there?
They were just regular impact, on impact.
And how crazy was that impact? It was breaking ground and stuff like that?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Just think of the loudest M80 you ever heard before. The loudest M80 you ever heard before. Now, magnify that by like 100.
And he was doing this shit like at a same time every day, like, or just random different days?
Random. He was always random. Always random. But the randomness came after everybody left the base. We never got hit during the daytime. It was always after all the helpers, all the Somali helpers, once they left the base. Once they left the compound.
Nobody never got hit with one of them rounds?
Oh, bro, people used to get mashed up, man.
By the joints that he was shooting?
Yep, because when they hit the ground, like, they send off shrapnel. So, you just think of somebody, just like a bag of quarters. Somebody heated up a bag of quarters, and you sitting in your room, and somebody threw the bag of quarters in there, and the bag blew up. You got quarters flying, white hot pieces of quarters just flying all over the place. Kill radius, I want to say, is anywhere between 3 to 5 meters. That's a kill. Anything outside of 5 meters is a wound.
That's crazy.
Yeah, man. War is just fear cloaked in courage, bro.
How often do like Marines be getting it on with each other?
Oh, all the time, bro. All you got to do is take off that blouse. Because think about it. The last thing you want is to have beef with me, and we got live rounds. So if you got a problem with me, I'll tell you a story real quick. There was a dude that my unit was unlike any other unit at the time in the Marine Corps, because we were a self-sustained unit. So being able to respond to certain threats anywhere in the world in a timely manner, you had to have everything. So in the Fleet Marine Corps, in the Fleet Marine Force, you have a rifle company, you have a heavy weapons company, you have mortars, you have snipers, you have everybody's in their own company. In my unit, and there used to be two battalions, one on the West Coast and one on the East Coast. I don't know what happened to the one on the West Coast, but I know the unit on the East Coast is still together. And each one of our sections, you had a infantry element, you had a heavy weapons element, you had a sniper element, you had drivers, you had EOD, you had bomb techs, you had dogs, you had everything in one platoon. So in a 64-man platoon, one platoon of 64 men, you had enough firepower, bro, you could do a lot of damage. We had all our heavy weapons. We didn't have to get anybody from a weapons platoon. We had our own snipers. We didn't have to sign out our snipers. We had our own EOD. We didn't have to go to the Navy and get our EOD. Everybody was there. So I was stationed on NAS Norfolk, Naval Air Station Norfolk. U-16 was our barracks. So in this barracks, we had a barber, we had a club, we had a store. Everything was self-contained in this unit. So I'm there and I'm probably in my unit maybe 3 or 4 months. I am not as green as I was anymore. But every few weeks we get new guys coming in. And they sent this one dude named Haygood. The Haygood was from northern Florida. Used to hunt hogs, never wore shoes. Never saw black people until he joined the military. Never saw them other than TV. Yo, this dude hated black people, bro. He was a card-carrying member. So I'm on my Bronx shit. We got off work one day, 1600. I know the dude got a problem with me. I told my man, I was like, yo, we gonna press this motherfucker. We did some city shit on him.
What you mean? Y'all got into a little situation, or just because you was black, you mean?
Just, that's all it was. That's all it was.
What you was feeling like he was looking at you funny and all that?
Oh, he was crazy, bro. He like, when he first came into the room, it was me, my boy from Queens, he Filipino, but he a brother, Filipino, and another brother from DC. So when he came in the room, he felt totally dark. He tried to beef with the corporal. Now I don't want to live with them, while he outside talking to the corporal, he telling the corporal white, but the corporal's a brother. He telling the corporal, well, they steal and this and that and blah, blah, blah. I say, all right, I'm going to get this motherfucker. So 1600 comes around. Now I know he don't like me. Not because he don't, and it's not because he don't know me. He just don't like me because of the way I look. So, I was in charge of him though at that point. I was a lance corporal at the time. He was a private, I think. And I said, hey man, do you want anything to eat? I'm just trying to extend the olive branch because that's just me. Oh no, I'm good. So I went down to the little liquor store, got me a bottle of Southern Comfort, came upstairs, got them 2 plastic cups, and sat there, put the bottle between us, and said, listen, there's some things we need to work out. And you're not going anywhere, and I'm not going anywhere until we work this out. And we sat there. And at first, small talk, drinking shots, going back and forth. I play a couple songs for him. He played me some country music. I play him some other stuff.
What type of shit you was playing though?
I was playing Menace to Society. That back then that soundtrack was out.
Oh, that was my shit. Talking about MC8?
Yeah.
Straight up Menace?
Menace to Society. I'm playing Public Enemy. I'm playing X-Clan, Boogie Down Productions. We going back and forth. So finally, he stopped playing the country music because that Southern Comfort is getting to him. So We going back and forth, back and forth. So halfway through the bottle, he's just start breaking down. He start crying, and I'm like, God damn, man. Okay, what's going on? But he was raised that way. He was raised that way. It's not, again, he never saw a black person face to face until he came into the military. And there are sections of America, bro, where we never interact with each other. Unless we go to a store, we go to Walmart, Target, this, that, maybe in school. But there are some people, bro, that we never cross paths with. So when that happens, the only thing that I have to go on is the stereotype. And the only thing that they have to go on is the stereotype. So they're going to believe all the negative things that they hear about me. And I'm going to believe all the negative things that I hear about them. But that night, me and that Marine sat there and we polished off that bottle and became the best of friends. But you know what? Not even 4 months after he got out the military, he swallowed a bullet. Because the things, so he came from a dirt poor town in northern Florida. And the city escapes me right now, but it's in the Panhandle, but it'll come to me. And when the dude got out the military and went back home, nothing had changed. It was a one light town, and the light flashed. It wasn't even a dedicated street light. And he went back home and went all the way back to zero. And that, coupled with not having a purpose anymore, became too much for him. You know, I got his letter 2 weeks after they found his body. And in his letter, he was like, I just wish that I was back in Virginia with my brothers.
That's crazy, bro. What type of combat he seen? Like where he was? You was with him?
Yeah, man, he was with me until 1994. We were part of Vigilant Warrior with United States Central Command, and we did some work with BSR down in Summit Point, West Virginia. But I ended up going to Haiti, and he ended up going to the fleet. I think his unit, they ended up doing some drug interdiction. I know he spent some time with Anglico. I'm sure, I think his EAS was 2003. And so he EAS right after the fall of Kuwait. I'm sorry, the fall of Baghdad, the second go round. So I'm sure, that's just like going from, you go from being a rock star to nobody knows who you are, bro. And I think he went back to that small little town. It's just like how you was talking earlier on your little live. He went back to that town, and he was probably the shit for like a good 2 or 3 weeks. And then after the dust cleared, everybody was, it went right back to being why he left. That town closed in on him, man.
You categorize this as one of the worst days of your life.
Worst day, worst engagement. You know, like I told you in a previous recording, like we've committed more crimes against humanity than the worst person you know that's incarcerated. Think about the worst person you know that's incarcerated that you grew up with or know, and that most heinous crime, bro, I got a fruit salad on my uniform. Got a fruit salad. You ever see, you see somebody in the Marine Corps or any other services, those ribbons and medals that they have on their chest, you know, with the exception of maybe one or two of them, bro, there's murder behind that shit. There's murder. So from time to time we would do reconnaissance. We would do reconnaissance patrols. So basically it was like being a magnet, getting out there and seeing if you could make contact, see if you could draw somebody out. And we happened to be out one day, and you know, started hearing a little commotion, but we got fired on. And our doctrine in the Marine Corps, near ambush, we attack the ambush. Don't run away from the ambush, you attack the ambush. A far ambush, you lay down the base of fire, and then you have elements moving towards where the gunfire is coming from. So when we got hit initially, it was a near ambush, so we kind of assaulted our way through. But the dudes that fired on us, they displaced. You know, they shot us a few times and then they dipped. And as we moving up on the objective, you know what? From the distance, what we saw. You'll see in some of those pictures. What we thought was piles of trash, and we figured, all right, you want to hide behind a pile of trash? We got on the horn and we called in Puff. So Puff is a C-130 plane. It's got a cannon on it, mini guns. Now you could fit it out with whatever you want. This one happened to be fitted with a 105 and some mini guns, and you know, they let them have it. So after an engagement like that, what you would have to do is you'd have to work through the engagement, and if you did find the people that ambushed you, what you would do is you do the battle assessment. So you check out the uniforms, check out their boots, their weapons, new, old, clean, are they kept up, if they have any documents on them. So we pulled up. I mean, the first thing that caught me was the crying, and still today, like, I have two triggers: trash, trash, and the sound of a child crying. I can't get that out of my head. So one of those structures that I was telling you about, it was, you know, kind of flattened, it was half standing, but as we're moving up on what we think are the people that perpetrated, you know, we're starting to see clothing, body parts, flesh, blood, but it's the crying. Me and the guy that I was with semi made entry into this one spot, and off in the little corner, off on the one side, we saw it appeared it was a child. So from her waist down, bro, it looked like somebody took a hot knife and just laid her down. What was that stuff we was talking about earlier? That Ready kit, that Goober's peanut butter and jelly. That's kind of what it looked like, but it was just brown and red. But from the waist up, she was good. She was good money, whole. She just looking at us with like the saddest eyes. She wasn't crying, and so see her, we're thinking about first aid, TCCC. And it's weird. When I pulled my mask down and she saw my face, she saw the lower side of my face, and I think it must have registered to her that, you know, I'm a brother. And bro, her eyes opened up. She had the worst look of fear, and I'm trying. My mind is fucking with me because it's like, okay, so it's like, stop the bleeding, start the breathing, treat for shock. How are you gonna? I'm looking at this little baby, and it's like, how are we gonna stop how would you stop the bleeding? And as you know, it seemed like forever, but I'm sure it was just a matter of not even minutes, it was seconds. The platoon sergeants that are with us, they're basically telling us, like, listen, we gotta go, you gotta go. So we started hearing, you know, sporadic rounds off in the distance, and bro, we had to leave. We had to leave her. I see this little girl every night, bro, in my dreams. That's the craziest thing. We DD'd back to base, and you know, that pretty much was it. But that was it for me. I was like fucked up. I was fucked up for weeks behind that. I was still able to do my job because we were there to do a job, but you know, it's still with me to this day.
Hey yo, LAZ, make sure you watch those 2 previous episodes. I got in with the bro Gunny Walker. Boots on the ground. You heard his 2 episodes already on the channel. Make sure y'all check those out. This is the 3rd episode. You feel me? And if you were ex-Marine, Army veteran, or anybody that saw combat and you got a story you want to get off your chest, make sure you holla at us, you heard? Z-Lord. Hey yo, LAZ, Oxygen Gang in the building, Comment Gang in the building. You already know, if you love what I'm doing on this channel, feel free to send that Cash App donation, you heard? If you need promo collabs, you want to talk some business, you want to start a partnership, you want to make millions of dollars with me, send me an email at thegenpopllc@gmail.com. You heard? Hey, yo, if you rep that Gen Pop movement, make sure you click that link in the description and that link in the comments and go cop one of them Gen Pop t-shirts, them good red and black Gen Pop t-shirts. You heard? Z-Lord, holla at me, man. If you need promo or collabs, send me an email at thegenpopllc@gmail.com.